Three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest in the ValuesJam guest session series. Janet, brilliant to have you here. And to start, please introduce yourself and tell everybody about the great work that you do.
Well, thank you for having me, Alan. This is so exciting. My name is Janet Lee, and I am a director, producer, artist, and innovative educator. I am currently working on a documentary project called Always Ask for Help, where we are integrating e-learning with actual real and animated footage. It's a very inspiring project, and I'm very excited about the future and the potential of the reach.
And what's it about?
So, Always Ask for Help is about something that happened to me. It was one day that changed my entire life. I was teaching in a grade 11 classroom in Ontario, Canada, when a gentleman came in and said he wanted to speak to us about his life story. And his story was fascinating and incredible. He was brave enough to tell us that at the age of 59, he still hadn't learned to read or write. And he talked to us about all of the things that happened to him because he couldn't read and write. And we make all sorts of assumptions about people. We assume everybody sees the world the way we do. But Arnie changed all of that in just 1 hour. And the most remarkable thing was that my students asked for help. When he was done, they thought, if Arnie can do it, I can do it. And these students that I tried to reach for so many months decided that that was the day that they would open up and ask for help in their lives. It was the beginning of a huge journey. We went to 78 schools together, speaking to students about always asking for help. And what we learned was that it's difficult to ask for help, and there really aren't any modes for asking for help. And many people just give up. So anyway, that was 24 years ago. I've been at this a long time. My friend has since passed away, but his mission and legacy lives on because of all of us telling the stories and making connections together.
So, Janet, just to be clear then, you talked about asking for help. Could you just clarify, are you talking about generally or are you talking about adult literacy specifically?
Well, asking for help started in the adult literacy realm. For people who were of low literacy asking for help for themselves, because they felt like the time had passed where they could ask for help. And then we realized that students have trouble asking for help. So we came up with this idea, and it's an Arnie card. This is a picture of Arnie standing with his school bell. And we just printed these up kind of like baseball cards, like trading cards. And we gave the cards out to all of the audiences and said, if you need help, ask for help using this card. Let Arnie do it. And what we thought was academic became wider spread. People were
Right,
asking for help. I mean, the students were saying, I'm cutting my arms. I have to stop. Can you help me?
right,
Others were saying, we're hungry at home. Can you help us? And I mean, this was part of the project that shocked me. I couldn't believe how many topics this simple tool opened up for the audiences and for the teachers. I mean, we have good intentions, but people are afraid to talk to us. And this, opened that wide. And so, like, to your question, it started with academics, but it became so much more.
right. And you're just making me think now about how we have no idea what's going on in people's lives a lot of the time, right? So whether you're an employer or whether you're a teacher or whatever it is, we tend to have a propensity to think that it's about us and what we're going to do to somebody and how we're going to treat them. And then there's an assumption that everybody's kind of the same. And that's how it works. Well, I remember somebody telling me that it was about I can't really remember too much of the detail about this, but what I do remember is that they were saying eventually this child explained that they never had breakfast in the house before it came to school. I think it was a teacher who was frustrated because he wasn't paying attention. He was falling asleep in the mornings. And it's because they had no food. And then when you realize I hope people feel really stupid that they had made these assumptions, and then it changes everything or can potentially change things. Mm. All right. Well, we're here for a Values Jam day today. So here's the deck, and I'm just going to shuffle them now. And while I'm doing that, have a think about how many piles of these cards you'd like me to make in front of me.
I think three. Three
Three. Okay.
piles.
And they're
Yes.
going to be different sizes. So
Okay.
we've got three piles. Pile one on my left, pile three on my right. So which number pile would you like? One, two, or three?
Well, I'm just curious if you could tell me something. So
Yeah,
the one on the left, like, which pile is the thickest pile?
the thickest pile.
Curious.
I think it's the middle one.
The middle one. Okay, we're gonna go with that. So in my mind, I think past, present, future.
Oh,
In
okay.
the middle is present. And if that's the thicker one, then the present moment is where we need to go.
Okay, so let's see how many cards. 12, 15, 18, 21, 23. So a number between 1 and 23.
13 always.
13. Is that your favorite number then?
Yes.
Okay, and I wonder what you think of that.
Oh, connection with nature. Interesting.
All right, now interesting is an interesting word, right? Because it's what people say sometimes when they're not sure what other things to say.
You're right. I'm typing it because I'm like, okay, what is it? Connection with nature. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So here's the first question. What does connection with nature mean? And there's a follow-up question, which is more creative and metaphoric, which is around what does connection with nature look, feel, sound like? So you can either start with the more technical answer or with the more imaginative answer, up to you.
Huh. We all work so hard. And I will tell you that if you get in touch with me, chances are I'm sitting here. I'm working. If you call me, I mean, even if it's 4 in the morning, sometimes I'm here. And
Okay,
and I love this office. I love the way I've got this set up. And it is my environment, but it's not nature.
right.
So where I live in Safety Harbor, Florida, which is it's across the bay from Tampa, Florida.
Right. Yeah,
And Safety Harbor is a really special place. It's full of very um, artistic people who are in love with this nature. And the nature here involves sunrise on the beach. It involves oak trees. They're live oak trees that have moss hanging down. And these trees are hundreds of years old. We feel the energy of all the trees connected, and we are constantly thinking of ways to experience the nature without being so hot. And we can't stand it. It is so hot, especially in the summer, and humid. For curly-haired people, it can be a nightmare. But when I think about it, so for me, like I said, I'm always working, I'm always here, I'm always like, I love my work, I love what I'm doing. But I always take the morning to go to the sunrise.
every
So
day.
pretty much every single weekday. On the weekends, I don't go because of tourists. There's a lot of different people down there, and it changes the energy field of the place. But that's the nature that I experience every day. We go and we stand on the beach, which is, they call it sugar sand. And we are myself and my two golden doodle dogs, Charlie and Lilybet. And we go stand on that beach and we watch the sunrise. And I stand there and I try to uncross and I try to get my feet flat on the ground. And I say, like Louise Hay suggests, I am open and receptive to all the goodness in the universe. And then I open my arms and I pull it in to my heart. And sometimes the sunrise is absolutely fabulous. And sometimes it's just this ball that comes up
Yeah.
out of the horizon. And sometimes, if you get there 15 minutes early, there's a glow that happens.
Mm,
And you look at the sunrise and then you stop. And all of us who know about this sunrise know that you turn around and look behind you because the clouds light up because of the sun. And
yeah.
it's fabulous. And that moment in the morning is so important to me because it grounds me and it reminds me that I am connected to nature. And it reminds me that anything is possible because that sunrise is different every single day.
Yeah.
And it moves across the horizon, which I
Mhm.
didn't know that. I never knew that a sunrise rises in different places. So you go where it's going to be and you see it peeking out behind the palm trees or up through the pier right by the water. And the dolphins jump sometimes, the men their babies. It's incredible. It's a gorgeous place to be. And when I was up north, I lived for a lot of years in Canada in the Great White North. The sunrises where lived were not as spectacular. Like sometimes they were okay, but there was never a place to go and see it. So I really do soak up the nature here in that way every single day.
No, you sound very lucky. And there's a number of things that you've touched on actually. So I enjoy photography, and not in a serious way, but I have a good camera. And one of the things that you were talking about that I really resonate with is how those sunrises and sunsets are all different. And there's something very special about that because you're not going to see something again because it's different today than it was yesterday and from tomorrow. And there's something just magical about that. And then also, the beginning of the day is a special time because this might sound a bit morbid, but it's like you should be grateful that you've got another day ahead of you. Some
Mm.
people don't, right? um, and you reminded me of when we were on holiday in Mallorca and we found out that there was a really cool place to go to see the sunrise. And it involved about a 1 hour drive on very bendy roads in the dark, which was a bit scary. Well, we had headlights, of course, and navigation, so it was kind of okay. And then we got there, and I remember this as if it was yesterday because the sun did come up, obviously. And then a goat and her kid came within like 5 meters of us on this rocky precipice, and it felt like being with nature, not going to visit nature, if you understand the difference. Um, so what a great start. And maybe I could ask you though, because I was listening to what you were saying, and actually I didn't hear an answer to the question, which is what does connection with nature mean? So when you're there in the morning, and you described what you do, which is great as well, can you tell me what that means, that connection?
What does that mean? What does it mean? It means be here now.
Right.
It means that you acknowledge that we are all connected and that each day is a new opportunity.
Hmm.
And that whether I go to that beach or not, it's there.
Yeah.
And I get to choose whether I, as you said, with the goat and the kid, whether I experience nature or I go visit nature. And experiencing speaks to your question about what does nature look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? All of those things come into play for me every morning when I go. And I'm good with the dogs bringing sand with them back in the car. Our car is full of sand. That's okay. But I also have a beautiful collection of rocks from the beach. I have a few shells. Some shells are, if you open them, they become a heart if they're still
Yeah,
connected.
yeah.
So I have that, and I have the wind in my hair.
And actually, the sand in the car, that's making me think that that's part of the connection with nature, because when you notice the sand in the car, I bet it takes you back to some memory of being on the beach where the sand came from, right? And so again, that connection. And today I went for a walk because it's quite warm here at the moment. I tend to go for a walk slash run first thing in the morning. And when the sun is low, and we've got ancient woodland near here, so it's a great
Mm.
place to go for a walk. Old trees, like you were describing earlier, and the sun being low, loads of shadows. And this morning, it was just a wonderful place to be. And I remember feeling not just going for a walk. I remember feeling this is such a cool place, and I feel really blessed to be able to be here in it, kind of rather than walking through it. Um, and I looked at things really for quite a while. Like there was a log on its side and a knot in it, and then the shadows of the leaves on the tree next to it were kind of in the space as well. I didn't take any photographs, but I was kind of, I guess I had my photographer eye on. It was just really, really enjoyable. And what about maybe we've touched on some of this already, but when you think about connection with nature, what images come to mind? What sounds come to mind? And what feelings come to mind?
So I mentioned I was in Canada for a very long time, 13
Yeah.
years. And Canada has some very definite, and depending on where you are, I was in Ontario, Northern Ontario. It has very definite seasons,
Hmm.
and feeling the cold like you feel it there is something you'll never forget. Your eyes freeze. So when
Yeah.
you blink, your eyes stick together sometimes. And they said to me, Janet Lee, if you have the right clothing, you're gonna love the winter. They were wrong. I did not like it. But there are people that just groove on that. They love it. But the fall is what you're describing, being in the colors or being in that area feels so um all-encompassing because it smells, there's like a certain smell of autumn and the beautiful colors, the sounds of the leaves, and just that stays with you in your heart for the rest of your life. It does. If you've never seen the fall, I know people who've never been in a snowstorm before,
Hmm.
and it is absolutely beautiful,
Hmm.
and quiet and peaceful, but freezing cold. It's interesting to live in different places because you have to, like, maybe it's not a place that you really resonate with, but you can always notice where you are. And going out and seeing the details in your environment can add that little bit of magic to your days.
For sure. And when I think about a connection with nature, the images that come to mind for me they're not really images, they're colors. So
Mm.
just green and blue. And the green is for leaves and foliage and grass and all of that stuff. And then blue is the sea and water. Um, Then the sound, again, this morning, bird song is one of my favorite sounds. And it was only during COVID that I kind of remembered that you can listen. You don't have to, so now if a bird is singing, I just stop and listen. And then
Oh.
when it's finished, I walk on rather than why would you ignore such a beautiful sound kind of thing? And then feelings, the connection with nature thing, I just feel a sense of peace and gratitude when I'm in nature. Um, just feel like it's the place that we should be. And we're not so often, actually, which is interesting, isn't it? So, what about let's move ourselves on with another question now. We're going to go to the other side of the coin, which is where have you noticed a disconnection with nature?
Hmm. The classroom. The classroom. Think about that box
Hmm.
and think about how we have fluorescent lights in a traditional classroom.
Yeah.
And those fluorescent lights, whether you know it or not, are blinking
Hmm.
at a very fast rate.
Yeah.
And people like me, I'm differently abled. I have Erlin syndrome. And what that is a visual perception disorder.
Okay.
I do not have dyslexia. I have this thing where when I'm under fluorescent lights and I'm trying to read a novel or a book, the black type on the white background is an issue for me. If I'm tired, it's horrible. The words do not switch like in dyslexia. The words for me lift off the page, they levitate off the page and spin around in a spiral.
Wow.
Sometimes I connect the white spaces between the words and it becomes rivers down the page. Try being an English lit student and having Erlin syndrome. It's
Mm.
very difficult. So you do things for yourself. Maybe your notebook is in a different color. So my paper is usually either beige or light blue. That's the color that helps me.
Okay.
When I was teaching, I would turn off these fluorescent lights and
Yeah.
open the windows for the
Yeah.
ambient light to come in.
Hmm.
Ambient light oftentimes will solve the issue. And do you know that it's 50% of our students who struggle who have Erlin syndrome and they don't know it?
Doesn't surprise me in a way, because all of this, it seems quite recent in my lifetime that we're recognizing neurodiversity and, the very different ways in which we all are. But it's kind of, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because to think like we did, say, 20 years ago, where you just, again, it goes back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, right? Where you assume that people are like this. Well, no, we're not. Um, and that the classroom, it's a fascinating one because I'm making a connection now with the workplace. And I've done quite a bit of work in that area of workplace management. And there's been probably in the last 10 years a big move towards biophilia, I think it's called. So basically bringing greenery into the office spaces. You'll go to new buildings which might have a garden on the roof, they might have plants all through the office space and all this sort of stuff. And then somebody, it's probably a few years ago, but I remember it so clearly because it had a big impact on me. They said, instead of making all this effort to bring nature into the workplace, why don't we think about how we could make workplaces in nature? And I'm just thinking now the same about schools. Guys it's a nice day. We're going to the forest today to do history.
Yes.
Um, it just
Yes.
sounds,
You go outside. Let's go outside. Let's
yeah,
think about what it would be like for us. Okay, we're Canadian and it's freezing cold outside. Let's all bundle up and we'll go. We'll go out. And I've been I've been known to do some strange things like I'm walking across the playground and there's one glove, one mitt lying on the ground like this. And I'll scoop that up and I'll bring it in and I'll say, what's the story for this one mitt? It's all by itself. And I carefully, gently lay it on this little stool in the front, and all my writers gather around. Let's write the story. So the environment can be a great character in the story. It could be a mood setter, bringing us outside and walking around. In Canada, they have outdoor classrooms, and it's all set up for play and for connecting while you're outside.
yeah,
So incredible, such a wonderful idea that I haven't really seen a lot of in the US, but maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. But
mm,
I do know that those classrooms can be very, very isolating, and
mhm,
to go outside is an incredible thing. I had a colleague who had a class on his very first day. He was teaching phys ed,
mhm.
full education, and they showed up, the students, the 11th graders showed up, and he wasn't there. And he wasn't there, and he wasn't there. The bell rang, and they're all sitting around looking at each other. And they look and they finally said, I bet you he wants us to find him. And they're like, yes, that's what it is. Okay, let's make a plan. Okay, so that the students made this plan to find him, and out of the school they went, which can be a legal issue, which I don't know if
Yeah,
I should get into that, but it took them the entire class period to find him, and he was in the football field on the bleachers. But being outside, forming this, search party was such a cool way to get the students thinking on a whole new level. So if we just
yeah,
open the doors and allow learning to take place in different ways, I think nature can play a huge part in memory making and in synthesis for the topics we'd like to embed.
absolutely right, absolutely right. And actually, there's you might know this. I can't remember the difference or which is which. So apparently, the word education is a derivative of Latin, and there were two roots. One was educare, which is A-R-E, and the other was educare, which is E-R-E. And apparently, I can't remember which way around it is, but one of them means putting information into somebody, and the other one means drawing information out of somebody. And what this article was suggesting is that we kind of got it the wrong way around how we've ended up with our education, because we should be drawing out, not filling people up with stuff, you know.
Mm.
Were you aware of that?
I am aware of that, and I'm aware of the philosophy of the filling the bucket method.
Yeah,
So the students come in as an empty vessel, and we are the sage on the stage ready to fill this bucket. And that makes an assumption, doesn't it?
it certainly does.
So we assume that you are coming to this classroom with no background knowledge,
Yeah,
with no life experience.
yeah,
And that, when I was talking about Arnie coming into my classroom, 59 years old, never learning to read and write. When we looked at resources for him, what I noticed was it was a lot of fill the bucket. So I'll tell you a story, Arnie. You fill in the blanks. And what our project is trying to do, Alan, is we're flipping that on its head. We're saying, what do you want to do? And Arnie says, I would like to drive my car and read the signs.
yeah,
Cool. Where do you want to go? Okay, so we're going to design an entire lesson plan around a real world experience in nature, where you're out in the real world and you have to have these literacy skills to get where you're going. And instead of giving him a worksheet, we're building off of his experience and his engagement
Mhm.
material. So that's the difference that I'm not seeing, especially in adult basic education. And that's it. Thank you, because I've never been able to kind of pinpoint what it was I was noticing, and that's what it is. It's that fill the bucket mentality.
Yeah, and I love what you're
Happening.
describing about this kind of hands-on, more practical approach rather than, learn it in your head.
Mm.
Um, you've reminded me there's a proverb or a saying by the Asari tribe. They're in the Southeast Pacific. And what they say is something like, if it's not in your muscles, it's just a rumor, which I love to bits because it's kind of saying if it's just in your head, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's got to be in the things that you do because otherwise it's pointless. Um,
Mhm.
now,
So, going out in nature is the thing that you do, that you experience,
yeah,
and then it becomes a part of you. And it's so easy to be disconnected from nature, isn't it?
yeah, yes, it is because because a lot of us live in cities. You have to make an effort to go to be in nature, and actually, this is top of my mind at the moment because um, a little bit of background. I like numbers and the way numbers are sometimes, and so this month, so just 6 days ago, it was the 20th of the sixth month in 2026. So lots of twos and sixes. And a marathon is 26 miles, right? So about a year ago, I thought it would be a good idea on that day, the 20th of the 6th, 2026, to run a marathon. But then, for various reasons, the plan didn't work out. But then I was thinking, well, just because you're not going to run a marathon, we could walk. So 6 days ago, we set out to walk and see how we would get on. Um, and we put into ChatGPT that we wanted it to be a walk in nature. And what that led me to discover is that there is a huge belt of connected woodlands here in southeast London that are known for being individual places, but nobody's ever actually thought of them as connected. And so now I've just started this crazy investigation into whether it might be possible to recognize it for what it truly is, which is a woodland commons for London and the well-being impact on the residents that have this all on their doorstep. Um, and the reason it brought to mind is because you were saying about how we aren't in nature. Well, here we pretty much are.
Hmm.
So it's not like you have to make a special trip to go to the beach, for instance. You can within a 15-minute walk for many people, there are these wonderful woodlands and parklands and stuff like that. So I don't know where that's going to go, but we'll see.
Well, I love the use of AI to support a whole new way of experiencing your environment.
Yeah, yeah.
And we think, AI is a robot and we should not be going down that road. Well, AI can support some pretty interesting perspectives.
You're absolutely right, and so I don't want to bang on about this for much more, but basically what it said is that you've got something really important here because it's important to the education system because it's on the doorstep. It's important to the healthcare system because it's all about well-being, being in an environment like this. It's important from a local government perspective because it's a fantastic asset to have in the area. And so it's really helped me to understand the various bodies that I'm now going to approach to look to put together a leadership group to give this whole thing more attention. So we'll see. But yeah, AI has been super helpful. It would have taken months to get as far as I've got in like 6 days.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now, let's another question. In Values Jam, you have the opportunity to ask a question yourself. So let's do that now. So what I'd like to do is think about a question to do with connection with nature. The question to begin with: who, what, when, where, how, why, and either you can, if it's something on the top of your head and you've got the answer immediately, do feel free to share. Or if you'd rather ask me a question, I'll respond and then you can respond.
So you mentioned the part about how now you are listening to birds. That's new for me. I just started to hear the birds and to notice all the different songs. There is an app where you can
Yeah.
actually let it listen and it'll tell you what birds are around you. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so my question to you would be, how has your perception of nature changed through your life?
Okay. So I had a flashback to playing in the woods when I was a young boy. Um, I had another flashback more recently of going on a surfing weekend holiday when I couldn't stand up. My kids did, I didn't. So good job I had dialed up the humility before I went. Um, and I think that I have become more appreciative of nature as I've got older. So I don't think I realized how lucky I was to be able to just scramble around in woods with my friends when I was young. Oh, and we played a game. I can't even remember what it was called, but basically it's a piece of rope tied over a branch that's over the stream, and then you swing on it, and you've got to plant a knife in the ground as far as you can, and it's the person obviously that gets it furthest that is the winner. So it
Plant a
encourages.
knife in the ground and you're over a stream, so you
Yes,
swing
but
it.
so you swing, you're at the other side, and then you plant the knife, and then you swing back to the other
Oh, so
side.
you're not dropping in the stream.
No, no,
You're
no.
just swinging across.
Yeah, and maybe stream is
Wow.
an overstatement because it was probably only about 4 inches deep.
Oh my goodness, that sounds dangerous.
um, and so, like this morning, I don't think when I was younger I was as appreciative as I am now. And the other thing that comes to mind is I really enjoy how nature makes me feel tiny. So I love being so that surfing weekend out in the sea, you're waiting for a wave and you're just in something that you can't see the end of. And similarly with these huge trees, again, it might sound a bit morbid, but I'm like, I'd be gone if that fell on me now. So that was a bit of a blurt, but there's some thoughts. What about you?
Mhm.
How's your thinking about connection with nature changed over your lifetime?
Ah, well, we really never did anything out in nature when I was a child, except for one time we were on a walk. It was a hike in a place called Deer Valley, and my Uncle Jack was there. And Uncle Jack was very open and creative. He's a very cool guy, and I was lucky to know him. So we were walking in on this path, and he said, "Okay, we're going left." And I remember him going into the forest, and I think, "Oh my gosh, like we don't go in the forest. We don't do that. We walk on the path." He said, "No, no, no, this is worth it." And we went through the forest, and we popped out at this beautiful waterfall.
Wow.
And he brought some water containers with him, like some little plastic containers, and he's like, "Come on, we're gonna drink this water." And so we all drank the water.
Yeah.
It was this incredible moment that I'll never forget. And then later on, I had a very similar moment in Kananaskis, which is in Alberta, up in the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies. And
Mhm.
we actually went up on a glacier. with it was the Athabascus Glacier, and it's kind of a dangerous trip. You get on this big truck and you go up. The tires are as big as this room. Like it's really incredible. And like you said, that awe-inspiring largesse, just being on this glacier and knowing that it was ice as deep as the Empire State's Building is tall.
Wow.
And if it opens while you're up there, you're done. You're done, you know? So, yeah, that was incredible. And then we took our water bottles and we drank the glacier water, which was, I'll never forget. So, if there's any moment where I need to drink water, where I need to feel hydrated, I stand there and I put myself back on that glacier. And then I
Right.
can drink as much water as I need because I'm connecting it to nature, to that moment where I had
Yeah.
that beautiful water flowing through me. And to me, through the years, being in front of something way bigger than me, like you say, it just reminds me of how small I am,
Hmm.
but also how I am connected to that. So when I
Yeah.
look at these trees, like the 400-year-old trees, I always say that came from one acorn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look what you can do. You're so small, but over time and with effort, you can become this fabulous, incredible thing that is connected to everything else.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is
Now,
amazing.
I'm curious about, so how long ago was the story about Uncle Jack?
Oh, well, I'm only 29 years old, Alan, so 40 years. It was at least 40 years ago.
Okay. I thought it might have been longer than that. The reason I ask is because I know from having done lots of these value jam conversations that sometimes what happens is that memories that were perhaps hidden suddenly come to the surface. And I've had people say, they've shared something and they've said, that hasn't crossed my mind for like 15 years. And as a result of that, I ended up speaking to a psychologist in New Zealand who said that because values led conversations go deep, what might be happening is that previously lapsed neural pathways are being sparked, and that's causing the memory to come back. But that wasn't the case for you if it was just a few years ago.
No, no,
Now,
40. That was a 40-year-old memory.
oh, 40. I thought you said 4 years.
40.
Oh,
40.
right. So,
No,
all
that's
right.
an old one. Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
here's
a childhood
here's the
memory.
follow-up then. When was the last time you thought of that story?
It's been at least 15 years.
Wow. Okay. So
Hmm.
yes, it is an example then. Okay.
It is, absolutely. And,
Mm.
it's if you think about when you have these values conversations, what you feel like while you're going to those memories is like this very comforting
Yeah.
feeling of warmth of going back to that pivotal moment and
Hmm.
remembering where it came from.
Yeah.
It's really valuable in seeing ourselves as having a voice and having experiences that are valid in this world. So thank you for that because that's the feeling it gave me.
Oh, that's good to hear. And maybe this is a natural time to draw this values jam to a close, actually, because we could start something else up, but I don't think we've got time to go into anything in too much depth. So, final question. What are you encouraged to do differently about connection with nature as a result of this conversation?
Hmm. Maybe get up out of this chair a little more. How about that?
Okay.
Maybe more than the sunrise. Maybe it's also sunset.
So this has to be practical. And I think you do a great, to do that. You said virtually every day. That's incredible for you to do that. So I don't think you should be too hard on yourself. But if you're looking, if this has inspired you to want more of a connection with nature, what could that look like in practical terms? So one of the things about Values Jam conversations is that this question is designed so that we don't just have a nice conversation and that's the end of it. It's designed to actually make a difference. But in order to make a difference, it has to be a practical difference, because it's no good somebody saying, "Oh, I'm so inspired and I want to see the sun set every day as well." And then, of course, it doesn't happen, and then people become despondent and da da da. So, what if there was a bit more of a connection with nature for you? What, in a very practical way, could you do?
Hmm. It's difficult to say like what I could actually do. Maybe I need to bring my paints, and just, while I'm there, capture it somehow.
Do you know, it's funny because before you said that, in my head was, what about painting?
Haha.
So it's like, how about if you were to, even if it was at least once a month, do a painting outside?
I've never done that before. I
How
think
does
I
it sound?
would try that. I think that is doable. Absolutely.
Okay. Mine is, because it's hot here. I mentioned earlier, I've been going for these walks in the morning, and just this morning when I was having such a good time, I thought, why don't you do this all the time, not just when it's, nice weather? And so this is reinforcing that feeling to me. And so when this hot spell is over, I'm going to continue going for a walk in the morning and see how that carries on.
It reminds me of the paintings that you see of the same tree in each different season.
Yeah,
I wonder what the environment will look like through the year.
yeah. And that actually that touches to I'm involved with a virtual reality business, and I don't know whether it will have got in the news over there, but there was a tree here um, called Sycamore Gap, which is in the north of England, near to Hadrian's Wall, between England and Scotland. And I don't know why they did it, but these two guys decided to chop this tree down.
Oh,
It's like 120 years old, iconic tree in this valley, photographed by so many people. Anyway, with our virtual reality project, we've been thinking about whether we couldn't create a virtual experience with the geography, with the tree in place, and invite photographers to send in their photographs of the tree at different times of the year and different times of the day and all the rest of it, and create an immersive experience being able to witness the tree um, all the time, or in any time, I guess. Because you know what we were talking about the sunrise being different. Unless you're there, you missed it, right? So our virtual reality thing is partly about defying the laws of time and place. So just because you weren't there doesn't necessarily mean that you can't experience the tree, for instance. So you just made me think about that again. But anyway, we need to let people get away. It's been just so wonderful. This is a great card that you chose, and I've loved the conversation. So thank you so much.
thank you so much for asking me to do this. This has been mind-opening. I appreciate that. Thank
All
you.
right, you take care.